Hello, everybody. Welcome to the den on this glorious Sunday morning, and it is actually a morning this time. I'm just shooting a link out on Twitter here. Yeah, because normally I do these later in the day, but got some family stuff I need to handle today. So since I had a bunch of stuff prepped, I decided, stabilize that camera, that I'd go a little early today so I didn't have to kind of waste my prep. So who do we have in the chat? Well, my wife. I'm still doing pretty well with the wife demographic. A little tougher to crack the demographic that includes all the people I'm not married to, but, you know, persistence. And maybe we'll get there someday. So what's going on this last week? Where have we been? Where have we been? What have we done? What have we learned? Well, sadly, we learned of the passing of Val Kilmer. Rest in peace, Godspeed, to a pretty amazing actor when you get down to it. Some people had trouble with him on sets and some people didn't. But he impressed me because, frankly, he had the looks where he could have sort of done, you know, romantic leading man in movies, and that's it. You know, like, probably could have made a good amount of money being a sort of, I don't know, kind of a Cary Grant type, you know, that sort of thing. But instead, I mean, we get comedies with Real Genius, with Top Secret. We get Top Gun, a small part, but one that has never been forgotten. And then you get Willow, The Doors, Tombstone, Batman Forever, The Saint, Prince of Egypt, and many more. A lot of movies of his that, frankly, I have not seen. That now I'm kind of, you know, as much when something like this happens, you kind of go, oh, man, I'd like to watch Tombstone again. Or, Willow, I haven't watched that in a long time. You kind of also go, wow, look at all the stuff this dude did that I really have never watched. I really should probably get a little more into his catalog and see some of the other things he's done. So God bless Val Kilmer. Very sad. An early passing. I believe it all, you know, at least started with throat cancer. I don't know if that was what finally did it or if it was something related to that or the treatments, but very sad, very sad. Good actor and an amazing array of parts. So, you know, whatever kind of movie you like, whatever genre you like, you can probably find a Val Kilmer film that fits into that genre, and he's gonna be good in it. All right. So on to, well, maybe happier stuff. Oh, Kiss from a Rose video with all the Batman clips. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Batman Forever had some problems. Oh, from pneumonia. Okay. There's definitely good in Batman Forever. It got a little, I don't know, it got a little goofy here and there. Jim Carrey might have been a little bit over the top. I think having two villains, as much as, do they love to do that, I don't think it's a good idea. Pick a villain, stick with them, explore the relationship, you know. So I think Riddler would have been great. I think Two-Face would have been great. Riddler and Two-Face, not so great. And then what do they do for the next one? Hey, when I will have Robin, and we'll have Batgirl, and we're going to have Mr. Freeze, and we're going to have Poison Ivy. And it's like, well, why don't you throw in 50 other characters? How do you, yeah. And that was sort of the end. And I don't think it was really Schumacher's fault, in all honesty. All right, let me slide over here. We got a Superman trailer preview teaser, whatever you want to call it. We already had some of this earlier, but now we get to see the opening scenes of the film. And some people don't like it, and some people are down with it. And I'm kind of mixed. And I thought I'd kind of roll through them a little bit to, you know, talk about where I'm at with the Superman movie. What am I doing? Oh, that's the button I'm looking for. Sorry, I normally have this synced to my keyboard, but this is a second little slideshow. So I grabbed a few images from it. So we start off like in the Arctic, and obviously Superman plunging to the earth, boom, hits the ground, not in the best of shape. Now, this is one of the things that's bugged some people. Seeing Superman bleeding doesn't really bug me. I could see where, and this is where it depends on the movie. Narratively, it could be an issue that maybe you want to have this later on in the film, but consider Alfred Hitchcock not a bad director of films. Did like to do this sometimes, like in Vertigo early in the film, showing the mortality of the character. Some people want Superman to just be unbeatable, period. You're not going to get a real interesting film out of that. Now, why did he get as injured as he got? Was kryptonite involved? Was it some unbelievable monster? Are we depowering Superman a little bit like they did in the later 80s with, when they kind of relaunched everything and John Byrne was doing the character? That's not necessarily a bad thing, because there is some difficulty in writing good Superman stories when the dude can do everything. If you can move beyond light speed, conceivably, you should be able to stop every threat almost before it actually erupts, if you put your mind to it. So, well, okay, he's not going to use light speed right now against Lex Luthor. Instead, it's because that makes a better story, but you kind of, from a fandom standpoint, why didn't Superman this? Why didn't Superman? A little bit less power is not a bad thing for the character. So we see him like that, and then we get the Crypto scene, which is cute, and God, is Crypto gonna make some money for these guys if they don't screw this up? But I have heard tales of a scene that if it's in the movie, and maybe it was described badly, and I'm not going to talk about these little rumor leaks thing I've heard, just in case people who might be watching this at some point don't want those spoilers. But there's a scene that I've heard about, and I'm like, that would be a deal breaker for me on this film. I wouldn't even go watch it. Hope that's not in there. But we get Crypto, a little different from the one in the comic books. I mean, for example, he's clearly much more of a dog in this one. And if you read the old Silver Age stuff, and this does seem to lean on some Silver Age aspects of the character, Crypto would have like thought balloons where he's got at least average human intelligence, which kind of makes sense. Superman's supposed to be a super genius because of the sun, and, not just physically, mentally. Hence Jerry Seinfeld, shouldn't he have a super sense of humor if everything else about him is super? But this Crypto seems more like a dog. He hasn't figured out that his master is in terrible, terrible distress right away. Eventually he gets it. And then we see him dragged to the Fortress of Solitude. So clearly more inspired by the movie Fortress of Solitude than the comic book Fortress of Solitude. And that's one of the things where you're going, this could be good, it could be bad, it could be neutral. There's a real grab bag of Superman lore, right? Now, in the old days, you had sort of Golden Age and Silver Age and then Bronze Age, but it was really all kind of the same character. Maybe little differences that cropped up along the way. Especially if you take like the first couple years of Superman, they're sort of figuring the character out. But, eventually you kind of get into Daily Planet, Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, Perry White, Superman, Secret Identity. That's the basic concept, and he's extremely powerful. And then you start adding new villains in and kryptonite and the concept of this and the concept. Okay. There's an evolution, right? At a certain point, it starts to break. Well, okay, now it's post-crisis, and we're going to mix some things around a little bit and reintroduce things, but under different sort of angles. And then at some point, now it's like, we're making a Superman movie. Which Superman? Which of the 4,000 variations are you going to do? Gunn seems like he's maybe pulling a little bit from here and a little bit from there. And I don't know. That could end up being an issue. But so that's our Fortress of Solitude. There's the entrance. Crypto barks. The emblem lights up. Yeah, they changed the emblem a little bit. That's apparently because Superman's heading for public domain very near future. And even though people will say, well, yes, but it's, only the first year. Well, it's only the first year of Superman, the first year he enters public domain. As it rolls, more and more stuff's going to become public domain. So we'll see. So he's greeted by the Superman robots. Now, when I heard about this scene, I thought, oh, it's the robots who look exactly like Superman that he would use in the comic books to sort of, protect the world while he was off in space, or to help out if he needed to fake somebody out with the whole Clark Kent Superman thing. Ooh, spoiler. Clark Kent is Superman. So that's what I was waiting for. Instead, they have this kind of look, but there's like kind of a cool retro look to them. I don't mind that. There's a bit of conversation with one, we're unemotional, you do not need to thank us, and then another one going, Superman looked at me, and you're kind of going, is that meant to be kind of a joke, or did you forget in the middle of the scene that these were unemotional? I don't know. With Gunn, it's possible, because Gunn often has a lot of good ideas and then seems to not necessarily think them all the way through. And so then we get this scene where he's being healed from these wounds with the sun. Again, a lot of people have not liked that, seeing Superman in pain. It doesn't bother me to have that kind of thing, to have the hero in danger. Now, I could see where maybe, is it going to bother little kids? I don't know if this point in time, if it is. Kids see a lot of stuff on TV that I didn't see in my time as a kid in Gen X. But like, my mom was a kindergarten teacher. So she had kindergartners in, early 90s through the 90s. And she would tell me, she's like, I get these kids coming in here. They don't know the colors. They don't know numbers. I mean, think about that. You're 5 years old and you don't know what blue is or red. They don't know numbers. They don't have any idea of letters. But they've all seen Child's Play. They all know who Chucky is. Oh, kind of horrifying. But a lot of kids do see things. I don't know that what they're seeing in this is going to be horrifying. And the point is, he's going to be obviously healed and then go back into battle. And then then you see the images of him, saving a kid from like some kind of explosion. We get the big monster. Yeah, come on. One of the first kaijus ever is actually in Max Fleischer's Superman. Oh, by the way, I got my Max Fleischer Superman out of the pack. Oh, shoot. No, of course I have this in the way. Got him out of the package. I got him into the pose I was looking for. Oops, very cool. Nice job on that figure from McFarlane. I was a little iffy on the face at first, but once I got him sort of posed the way I liked him, I liked it a lot better. So we get the kaiju thing. We're going to see Hawk Woman, unless they call her Hawk Girl. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Looks pretty good. We got Clark with his dad. We got Clark and Lois, or Superman and Lois there with something going on in the back, which is another thing people have been like, what? Why isn't he out saving the world? I don't know. There might be a point to that scene. I don't want to judge it too early. We got Lex Luthor. It looks okay. And see, that's like the 80s Luthor, where he's a big, like, tycoon instead of just the evil scientist wanting to prove he's smarter than everybody. The one thing I will complain about, I saw this image in something else. Luthor Corp. LexCorp. LexCorp is the way to go on that one. Unless for some weird reason they don't have the rights to use the term LexCorp. I don't know. But that would be better. You got Mr. Terrific, who I don't know much about that version of the character, honestly. He's fighting a dude. He looks like the Meteors back there. Metropolis Meteors, I'm guessing. Baseball? Probably baseball. Guy Gardner thing. Yeah, he does seem really young, huh? But honestly, everybody seems really young nowadays. People looked older back in the day, which gave them gravitas. I don't know, like, how much older was Christopher Reeve than Cornsweet. Maybe a little, but like Reeve, okay. Testosterone levels have been going down in the country. I mean, dramatically for a long time. It makes men look more boyish than mannish. I'm just an old hunk of coal, so I look like what I look like. But so here's the thing, and I know a lot of people were excited about what's his name, Philin, being cast as Guy Gardner. They thought it'd be perfect for it, and he may well be. The hair is sort of right, but not 100% right, and he looks, frankly, a little old to play the part. That face kind of reminds me of that one weird lady in Congress, the really old one with the crazy blue hair. So it's like distracting. I need to see him moving around more. It may look a lot better once you get a lot more Guy Gardner, and I do enjoy the character. Kind of weird way to start with stuff. I will say this, though. I do not like the costume they put him in there. It is not flattering to the actor, what I've seen. And it's not, if they had done a more comic accurate costume, it would have looked a lot better on the dude. So, well, and that's honestly true with Superman as well. Now, the Hot Girl one looks pretty decent, and she looks okay in it. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if Guy Gardner works out. But I'm like early on going, he looks like Abe Vigoda. Abe Vigoda is Guy Gardner. Hey, maybe that would have been great. I don't know. And then we get that little scene of those two. And that was one other thing that I was a little bit like, I get it. People are like, we're tired of the whole Lois Lane not knowing who Superman. It's kind of fundamental to the character. And I feel like, I mean, they're not just making a Superman movie. They always want to do something in sort of a trilogy or a series. Build up to it. You know, Lois and Clark, great show. Built up to it. Got there eventually. Not right away. So I don't love that, but it's like, it's not a deal breaker for me. Here's where I'm still like back and forth on this thing. I love Silver Age Superman. I love Bronze Age Superman. I love Superman. I love you, Superman. Hope, all that kind of good stuff. Everything you get. I still get chills when I watch the original Superman movie, well, from 78 with Christopher Reeve, when he's first going around and saving everybody. That moment where he becomes Superman, saves Lois in the helicopter, then the cat burglar, the guys in the, all that stuff. And he does that little salute to the guy. It genuinely gives me like a little, wow, Superman, he's real. So I have that relationship with the character. I don't know if James Gunn can produce a Superman movie I'm going to like, because he's kind of a snarky smartass. I like the first Guardians movie, but that's not the vibe you'd want for a Superman movie. Maybe for a Justice League International movie. Could be funny, but not necessarily for Superman. Now, that doesn't mean Gunn can't do it. I have trust issues. I'd really prefer not to spend a bunch of money, like for me and my wife to go watch this, for me to walk out of it and go, crap, bait and switch again. You don't want to be Charlie Brown and the football with Lucy and go, damn it, they got my hopes up again. And then it had to get all snarky, deconstructionist BS. So I think for me, I want to see a little bit more. And I'd maybe like to hear what some people have to say about it. And like I said, there's one potential scene in it that would be an absolute deal killer for me. I ain't going to do it. So we'll see. That's kind of where I am with the Superman movie. I really would like it to be good and fun and inspiring and hopeful. And I just don't know. So we'll see. What else? Okay. I've never known how to pronounce this company name. Is it Toei? Toei, TOEI, confirms that they are focusing on overseas markets due to Japan's population crisis. Thought that was interesting. Makes sense in some ways. Could be rough on the company in others. They could lose what makes them unique. But here's the funny thing. The population crisis is coming to every place. And boy, we are in, if you're a young person right now, you're in your 20s, right? I was in my 20s back like in the 90s. And it was an interesting time. We saw the fall of the Soviet Union, and then all sorts of crazy crap happened afterwards. And now we're all sitting here going, I miss the 80s. That was great. I miss the Cold War when we had thousands of nuclear missiles pointed at us. But the TV was good. It's a weird thing, right? There were people who kind of, their childhood was during the Great Depression, and they had a good time, right? And they kind of missed the 30s, even though, why would you miss the 30s? In your 20s now, you're going to see probably some unprecedented stuff over the next 50 years as populations start to fall. I mean, unless you 20-year-olds get busy making kids, get busy making a new baby boom. If you're going to do that, find somebody you love who loves you, get married, do it right, raise them kids in a good family. Trust me on this one. Dedicate your life to it. It will not be an unimportant task. But if you guys don't, we're going to see populations dropping kind of everywhere at once. And it's going to be interesting because we have certain economic assumptions in the world based on the notion that population always increases. Sometimes faster, sometimes slower, but always increases. So there's a lot of investment in land because the old saying is, invest in land, they're not making any more. But that only makes sense if demand for land is going to continue to go up forever. And when it doesn't, what we might be seeing all over the place is something like we saw in Detroit when that city started losing population. A lot of it was moving to the suburbs, but the city itself lost population and a lot of empty homes that fell into ruin. We could be seeing that in a lot of places in the world. People are still going to probably want to coalesce in places they consider nicer, probably coastal communities, good weather. They might do okay. They might even become more affordable for a lot of people. But at any rate, I just saw those folks saying that, yeah, a lot of companies are going to have to start thinking about that kind of thing, probably more than they have in the past. So there you go. Also, Coyote versus Acme. This is the part live action, part animated movie that got shelved. Apparently, it's coming to theaters in 2026. Ketchup, the little studio that brought us The Day the Earth Blew Up, the Looney Tunes movie, has apparently secured the rights to present Coyote versus Acme. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm not really that excited about it. I don't really like the live action animated blends that they've done with Warner Brothers. That's why I really did like the Day the Earth Blew Up, because it was all animated. But a lot of people are looking very forward to it. So it's awesome. They're going to get a chance to see it. Keep the Looney Tune characters in rotation. I mean, I've often thought, like, of all the comedians who were active in the 1940s, and there were some big comedians, Jack Benny, Bob Hope, Red Skelton, Fred Allen, tons, right? Big names. The comedians from that period who people have actually really seen nowadays, still watch on a regular basis, are the Three Stooges and Mel Blanc in his renditions of characters from the Warner Brothers cartoons. like those two, well, 4 technically. Well, okay, with Shimp, it'd be 5. And with Joe Besser, it would be, anyways. Those folks have like sort of outlasted bigger names like Jack Benny and Bob Hope in the long run. You know, I mean, some people have seen the road pictures, but I think Stooges and Looney Tune cartoons have like really survived a little bit better. So it's cool. Keep those characters alive, keep them going. Let's take a look at some of the new stuff that's floating around that caught my eye. This is one I think we've talked about before. Masters of the Universe Thundercats figures. They are now up for pre-order on Amazon and probably elsewhere. Right around $20. I did get a Chitara one just for fun. The Battle Cat one I'm not really into. The Lion-O and the Mumra are cool, but I said I'll just get Chitara. I got a few Masters of the Universe figures. In fact, I don't know, maybe if you look real hard at the aerial I have back on my TV back there, I got He-Man sitting on top of it, but I have just a few of those figures, and I thought, okay, I'll kind of add her to the mix. I don't have any of the female masters or the mistresses of the universe yet, so I'll do that. But those are out there for pre-order if you're interested, if you didn't realize. We got a poster out for the new Lupin the Third animated film called Immortal Bloodline, coming in 2026. Love Lupin the Third. Awesome cartoons, some crazy stuff in those. I don't know how this will stack up. I mean, this were 2025 and they started making these things back in the 70s, early 80s, 70s, somewhere in there. So I don't know. Japan tends to stay more true to their characters. They don't screw with them too much. So we'll see. But if you're into Lupin the Third, you might want to check that, or just be aware of it. Keep your eyes open for it. Now, this is one I'm not 100% sure on. I see Big Bad Workshops, and they're calling them Long Box Heroes, prestige format, pre-orders coming soon on Rocketeer, the Black Phantom, and Onslaught Troopers. Okay. So, okay, cool. I don't know what the price point is on those. I see the word prestige, and I think it's not going to be really low. But I also noticed on Twitter, Matt Wagner had announced the Longbox Heroes Wave 2 Kickstarter, which we talked about in maybe last live stream, maybe the one before, has been canceled because of the whole tariff dispute right now. Would increase the cost of the figures to about $40 a pop, which they didn't think was a good price for what they're doing. And therefore probably were worried they're just not going to get enough interest in it. So we'll see. The tariff thing might be resolved at some point, but I'm going, well, that's Longbox Heroes. This is Longbox Heroes. Is that going to cancel the prestige stuff? I don't know. So you might want to check into it if that's something you're really interested in. The Rocketeer looks very cool, and I do love the Rocketeer quite a bit. Super 7's new O-Ring G.I. Joes are out for order now. You got Cobra Commander there. You got the cartoon version of Snake Eyes, Wild Bill, and the Zartan Cold Slither. And I did order that figure because how many times are you going to get a chance to order a Cold Slither version of Zartan? It will go nicely with my G.I. Joes, which are sitting right up there where you can't see them, a little too high up, but he'll go nicely with my original vintage ones. That's why I went ahead and did it. They did a much more deluxe line with the whole band, but I'm not collecting any of that, those Joes. So I didn't do that, but I'm like, oh, the O-Ring, I might do them. So I did. So that is available now. You can go to Super 7 and find those. I don't know if anything's sold out yet. You're going to have to check, but this I was really into. So if you know your Star Wars figures lore, you know that when Kenner was pitching what they wanted to do with the figures to Lucas, that they made mock-ups using the Fisher-Price Adventure People. So Nema Studios is making Star Wars figures based on the original Kenner mock-ups, based on those Adventure People. You can kind of see the way they have the hand sort of out in front of them. That's Adventure People, because that meant you could use that hand on a steering wheel or something like that. I thought that was a really cool idea. You see, we also have Vader, Ben Kenobi there, who just looks like he's wearing a jumpsuit, which is just awesome. And there's Vader in the package. $33. I'm definitely got to get like at least one of those. I have not decided who. It might be Vader. It might be Vader. Because, I'm going, well, the Han Solo is really cool. But you're going, yeah, you can get Han Solo and not get Chewbacca with him. Now you're into $66. I don't know if I want to go that far. But I'll probably get the Vader one. I like the idea. I like the creativity that somebody did that and modeled them that way. Very cool. If Nema Studios is looking for something else to do like that, and you'd have to get the license, I've always thought Space 1999 would have worked perfectly with Adventure People. I think you could do some really, really cool stuff with that. That might be a tougher license, a tougher toy line to sell, but there are some intense Space 1999 fans out there, so maybe that would work. Skybound's Transformers Compendium. We talked about this before. Now we see the size of those books. They're supposed to collect all the Marvel and Marvel UK Transformers stories into one place. That's going to take up a chunk of your shelf space, but if you are in love with the old Transformers comics, what an awesome opportunity that is. I don't know price point. I saw Hasbro Pulse, Fantastic Four She-Hulk figure. Real tempting for me. I love She-Hulk. I loved her in the Fantastic Four. I loved her after. I loved her before. So maybe, I know they did one already in the sort of the purple kind of outfit that she wore, I want to say in the Avengers. So there's probably just a little bit of resculpt on that one, but very cool. I got a few Marvel Legends figures. I don't have a ton in that scale. So I pretty much have just like, well, I'll get characters that I've always been a real big fan of or that are very unique. She-Hulk would probably fit into that. Like I got Ben Grimm, I got the Thing. And then, two of the Fantastic Four. So that's just, they just announced that again. I assume price point will be pretty standard for the Marvel Legends stuff. And McFarlane Toys, Super Friends style figures that I want to say are in the scale of their like Batman 66 stuff. We got Sinestro, we got Lex Luthor, we got Batman, we got Green Lantern. Again, I don't get a lot of stuff in that scale, but Super Friends Green Lantern was one of my first ever favorite superheroes. When I was a kid, elementary school, out on the playground, and we play Super Friends, that was the character we argued over. You wanted to be the first. I call Green Lantern. I don't know what it was. We were obsessed with that Green Lantern character. I guess it was because he could, like, anything he could think of, he could create with his ring. And we just thought that was rad, even though you're like going, yeah, but Superman can do like all of that without a ring. Like, I don't know. We loved him. So I'm like, okay, I'll get that, dude. I don't think I'm going to get any more probably from that line. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what they come up with, but very cool. And I think they did a good job with them of getting that cartoon look. And I know that like one picture of Green Lantern, he had like a baseball bat. So there you go. That's about all I found for some new stuff that's floating around that I really enjoyed. What about acquisitions? Well, and we'll have a couple little reviews in here. First of all, I got the third of the new McFarlane Superpowers range that I was waiting for. I'm going to probably do a video with these guys unboxed. Let's see, can I hold them all up at once? All right, let's juggle these a little bit. See if I can do it. So I opted for the Jay Garrick Flash, the Atom, and Lobo. I did not get the Robin figure because it was one of the later Robins that I don't really have any connection to at all. My primary thing with these has been the Justice League International, or that incarnation of Justice League. Now, Atom was in that Justice League at one point, but also I just love that minimalist costume look. Of course, Jay Garrick has nothing to do with it, but damn, that's a cool figure, and I didn't care. And Lobo, of course, figures into the Guy Gardner being hit on the head and nice, and then not being nice anymore. I'm actually not the biggest Lobo fan, but I'm like, okay, I'll get him because there's that little connection with Guy Gardner. All right, there you go. You know what? The ridiculous things we come up with as adult nerds for why we're going to buy crap. A couple other deliveries with a little review to go with them. Wulf and Batsy, number 13. This is a like a double-sized issue. And look at that. Extra swag going with it. Spiders and bats. So 64 pages. If you like Wulf and Batsy, Brian Baugh's, werewolf and vampire team up, you will probably dig this. It's good. It is gory. It is gross. It is, a little sexy here and there. It's Wulf and Batsy. It's exactly what you would expect. And it delivers. And he figured for a horror comic, issue 13 should be a little bit special. So it's a goodie. And you know what? Damned if he didn't put a nice little bit of heartfelt storytelling in there too. It's not just a couple of monsters being generally amoral, although it is part of that too, because that's those characters, which I actually like. It's just because of the way it's handled. It's not a celebration of their amorality. It is an acknowledgement. Batsy is a vampire. That's who she is. She's not bad as vampires go, but she's still a vampire. So, she tries to be nice, but human beings are sort of food for her. So, it's that kind of thing. I think he does a great job with it. I'm a big fan. Also got delivered Kor-Drath, number 2. Kor-Drath, the Awakening, also called that. Bodacious barbarian action. I enjoyed the first one. I was happy to sign up for the second one, and it delivers the same kind of experience. I would love to see this in black and white, old Conan mag size art, because sometimes there's some really cool stuff and it's hard to make it out just because of the size. And there were a few places where the coloring, to me, it could have separated background from character a little bit better. So there was kind of like me going, wait a minute, I remember I got old eyes. But great. The Kor-Drath comics are barbarian fantasy with a big dose of Dungeons and Dragons. And that's part of the storyline. So like the first time I read it, there were characters using sort of somewhat anachronistic language or throwing in lines from old movies where you're kind of going, I don't know, kind of like maybe that breaks the fantasy barbarian feel a little bit. And then you get to the end, and I don't think this is a spoiler at this point. If it is, there we go. 3, 2, 1, prepare to be spoiled. It's a D&D game. So it's a sort of narrative based upon a D&D game played by friends. That's kind of the secret of Kor-Drath, which they continue in this one. But that's the thing, because you're like going, Oh yeah, now it's completely awesome to me because it's like it's an awesome D&D game. It's a D&D game everybody's freaking having a good time with, and they're doing bad puns and jokes and everything. It's like that's what D&D should be. Whatever edition you're playing, it should be a fun freaking game for you. And I really dig that about Kor-Drath. So I think the next one, and I don't want to, let's see, let's pop it out of here. Little ASMR, ready? How about that? For those of you who really get off on that. I don't know if they have the image in here for the next. Okay, yeah. So it looks like the next thing will be the succubus character from this is going to have a book, Lilith. So there you go. So that might be really cool too, because she's become in this one a more interesting character. So you get the narrative and it works, and it's fun and it's epic and it's barbarian fantasy, and you get a little D&D-isms in there. Very fun concept, and it's executed well. So good job from the boys. Do they have their names? It's Andy Smith and oh Lord, I'm gonna pop it out again. Okay. More ASMR. Yeah, story and art, Andy Smith. Story and script, Dennis Turner. Color art, is it Nanjan Jambari? Or is the J a Y? Nanjan Jambari. It's probably Nanjan Jambari. Lettering, Steve Dutro. So there you go, though. Kor-Drath, number 2. It's still out there. I think you could probably get copies if you're looking for them. And if you're into D&D and all that kind of fun stuff, and I mean like fun D&D, not let's argue about rules for the next 4 hours D&D, or you're not doing it right D&D. If you fun D&D, Kor-Drath, check it out. The other thing I got, now this is something I'd sort of had on my list on Amazon, and I happened to go in there looking at something else, and they had a couple different things. The prices were slashed. Crap. I guess I will. So this is in that sort of same scale as some of that Marvel Legends stuff. It's Lord Deathman, Batman 66. So it's not like, this has been out there for a while. I couldn't help it. It's such a cool concept. This is from the Batman manga that was produced back in the day. And I couldn't help it. So I did pick that one up. Okay. We're almost done here. I got 2 quick movie reviews for you. Oh, crud. I forgot about that. Yeah, I added that last minute. Marvel Team Up, Omnibus. I don't do a lot of omnibus stuff, but that's a real tempting one because I love me some Marvel Team Up and Marvel 2-in-1. Okay. Sorry about that. Shockproof, 1949. Cornell Wilde, Patricia Knight. He is a parole officer. She's a parolee. He falls in love with her. And my nice noisy chair. Falls in love with her. And it's kind of a film noir, but it's a very tame film noir early on. And then everything goes wrong, as it should. I did not really care for the ending. It was a little bit pat. It was a little trite. The part I did like about it was at a certain point, these two are on the run from the authorities. And it was actually kind of tense because you're kind of in the audience going, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she, as a character, is kind of going, dude, what are you doing? Like, she does have actual feelings for him and sees he's really screwing up here. So that was actually pretty good. Up until then, it was fine. I think the biggest problem I had with it was, why does this guy fall so hard for her that he's going to give up everything? Oh, hey, Fins the Spook is up there. What up, what up? Can't stay long, but saw you were live and thought I'd drop in. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Happy birthday. And he got some pretty good swag. Maybe he'll show it off on Twitter. Finn's the Spook on Twitter, same name. Check it out. Does cool stuff. Very cool guy. So that was my thing, though. It's like, she's very attractive, but like attractive enough to completely turn up your life. I didn't get that. I didn't get it. That part didn't work for me. But there was some good stuff in it. So, not a terrible movie. I didn't love it. But the next one. Yesterday was Bette Davis's birthday. And so the over-the-air movie channel, there is one. I think it's just called Movies, was playing like a little marathon of Bette Davis. And I caught Another Man's Poison. Good flick. It is from 1951. It's Bette Davis in her, this lady's kind of scary phase. She's getting a little bit older. She was always intense. Dude, she was intense in her 70s. When I was a little kid and I'd see her like on The Tonight Show or something, I was like, Bette Davis kind of scares me. Like, there's something underneath that surface where you're going, this is a relatively small old woman and I wouldn't mess with her. Right? You kind of got that with a harder edge from, what's her name? God, I almost said Joan Collins. Not Joan Collins. Joan. Yeah, she's totally unnerving in this. Anyways, she's good in it. She is unnerving in this. What I kind of dug was at the end, like you kind of see where they're going. It's a little bit telegraphed. It's not like, oh, I can't believe it, but they executed it very, very well. And it ends with a great, great shot. So Another Man's Poison. Joan Crawford, thank you. Great ending. I really like this one. I do. And it's an unnerving, disturbing picture. These two characters are kind of blackmailing each other and hate each other. And if you can find this one, I dug it. It's a pretty good flick, and it's Bette Davis doing the Bette Davis thing. Man, she could be a scary lady. The other one from that period, because that's the thing with Bette Davis. There were rumors, I don't know if confirmed at all, that in self-defense, she might have killed somebody at one point. It could be just scandal rumor crap, but when you see her in a lot of these things and that intensity she brings and the authenticity of that intensity, you're like going, she might have taken a dude out. Like, it's there. These actresses who start in the 20s, so even by the 50s, like they've been in the business for 30 years, right? They've been around. They've seen some stuff. The studio system was as bad then as it is now. Hollywood, I should say. You don't know what they went through, and it damaged people. Barbara Stanwyck, I know she went through some stuff, and that was another lady, like on Big Valley and seeing her in other things where you're going, I ain't gonna mess with this lady. She didn't have necessarily the scary sort of thing with Bette Davis. But it was that sort of like, oh, if I cross this lady, she's going to take me out. It was that like steel resolve in Barbara Stanwyck's eyes of just like, don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to regret this. Great actresses though, man. But I got to be honest with you, like, great performances, but if they came from a lot of horrific personal tragedy, I probably would just rather have them not be great actresses. I hate for people to have to go through that. Like, I don't want to go, I wish modern actors could be more tortured so I would enjoy their performances more. They should go through a lot of problems so I could be entertained. It's kind of like that with stunt work, Witch Crone. I think she did do something a little like that. Wasn't she in like one of the later Disney movies of the 70s playing not exactly a witch, but something kind of like that. But yeah, Betty Davis. I don't watch as much of her stuff as I should because she kind of like unnerved me as a little kid. And so when it's like a Betty Davis movie, I know it's going to be good, but I'm like, it's not going to be just like, hey, this will be fun. It's challenging. You know, she makes challenging films that like they're a little bit of work for you emotionally. Awesome stuff though. But yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like with stunt work where you go, practical stunts are way better. And it's like they are, but like people died doing that. You know, there's that scene in Cannonball Run, the comedy. Car goes, twirls around. Stunt woman died in that stunt. And you're going, yeah, I don't really want people to die for my entertainment. So practical effects where they're not going to kill anybody, awesome. CGI instead of stunts that could kill somebody, yeah, I'm kind of down with that in a way. I can't be selfish enough. I mean, look, I was just watching a bunch of stuff like retrospectives on James Bond, and you're going, God, stunts are so awesome. I love this stuff. But I mean, as a grown man, you're like going, I don't want somebody to die, you know, doing some crazy like ski jump off a cliff so that I can sit in a movie theater and go, wow, that was really cool. You know how it is. The Madam Puppet scared the hell out of me too as a kid. I got to type. Maybe that's the last thing I'm going to see before I go. Will be something like a Betty Davis Madam Puppet coming at me. My God, it's all come true. All right. Well, I got some family stuff that I got to get to. So 10 minutes shorter than normal, maybe a little more than 10 minutes shorter. But thanks, Lady Wendelin, my love, and Finn's the Spook for being in the chat. That's what I love, is being able to chat with people. Thanks for everybody who tuned in, anybody who's going to tune in at some point along the line. I really do appreciate it. Helps my little channel to grow. I want to make this a place where people can get together and talk about stuff they love without any kind of like real negative vibes thrown into it, except, you know, me being afraid of Madam and Betty Davis. You know, you can't help your triggers, right? So anyhow, we're going to close this one down. Thanks, everybody. Adios, sir. Adios, everybody. God be with you. What do I always say? God bless you. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. And I will hopefully see you again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.